It can be really frustrating and isolating when we're struggling with anxiety. You can feel like we're all alone in this and that nobody can ever really understand what we're going through because they just don't know how it feels. However, other people not quite seeing things the way we do can at times be a good thing, because the perspective of someone who is on the outside of the situation can be a more realistic one than the one we have from inside of it. I'm Tim Box, and in this video I'm going to explain some of the many and varied ways that anxiety feels completely different from how it actually is. Let's do it. So welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time, I'm Tim Box. I'm a mind coach, and for the last 12 years or so, I've been working with people to help them overcome all sorts of emotional and psychological issues, and in particular, helping them get control of anxiety. Before we get started, do me a favor and hit that like button, and if at any point in the next few minutes I say something you believe might be of value to someone struggling with anxiety, then please share this video on your social media. Every share potentially helps someone. So it's worth pointing out that a lot of the clients I see have come to see me because they've seen my TED Talk and heard me explain how I went through my own period of debilitating social anxiety when I was younger. Many people have told me that the way I talk about it is the first time they've heard someone explain things in a way that clearly comes from a place of personal experience and understanding of how it feels to deal with high levels of anxiety. But here's the thing, I'm not sure my personal experiences are why I get great results with clients. I think the results are almost in spite of my personal experience. You see, anxiety has a habit of making things seem completely different from how they actually are. When we talk to somebody that hasn't been through this and has a very different outlook to us, that can actually be a good thing, because our perspective is often distorted and misrepresentative of how things actually are. And the harder we try to explain how we feel, the more we talk ourselves into that feeling and further away from where we actually want to be. Let me explain my point by running through some examples of the way our anxious mind is often an unreliable narrator. Anxiety very much feels like it can strike out of nowhere, anytime, and for no good reason. However, the truth is very different. There's always a reason why we feel the way we do at any given time. Now, it's certainly true that it isn't always easy to work out what that reason is, but if we simply accept that anxiety feels random, then our mind becomes discouraged from seeking out any deeper understanding. Our reason for feeling anxious becomes because I have anxiety, and whilst this might feel like the answer, it actually isn't. When someone asks, why do you feel anxious, or what are you anxious about, it might feel like they're being dismissive or lacking in empathy. And to be honest, that individual might be, but that doesn't mean we should reject the question out of hand and leave it unanswered. The person asking the question, why do you feel anxious, is actually asking a more profoundly important question than we realize, because it's answering that question that often represents the first steps towards getting back in control of our anxiety response. Anyone that's ever had a panic attack will know it very much feels like we're going to die. The inability to breathe and physical discomfort all add up to what presents like a heart attack or other similarly life-threatening episodes. This is why it's very likely we might end up in the emergency room the first time we experience a panic attack. Not because our life was actually under threat, but because it felt like it was. However, when the person standing next to us the next time saying we're going to be okay is dismissed because they don't know what we're experiencing right now, it's worth remembering that they're actually right. We're not going to die, and we will in a few minutes return to our normal, calm state. It's actually good that they're not also experiencing this, because any panic on their part would only fuel our panic and make things worse. Seeing a panic attack for what it is, an unpleasant but short-lived emotional response, can be extremely helpful when we're in a place where some calm words and a different perspective can be of great value. When we're in the midst of high anxiety, it can very much feel like there's a part of our mind that is actively trying to destroy us. Largely due to the fact that it seems to strike at the least helpful times in our life, it'll often present like we have a little guy in there picking the worst possible moment to strike and cause us maximum distress. This is in fact another case of the way it feels is not the way it is. Anxiety only starts because a part of us cares enough to be concerned about our safety and well-being. It's not a part that hates us, it's a part that loves us enough to freak out when it feels like we're heading in the wrong direction. Those that have recovered from anxiety disorders tend to look back on the time when they thought a part of them was trying to destroy them as one of those distorted perspectives that, when let go of, made a huge difference. So as we know, our emotional responses are the work of our subconscious. And of course, the thinking and processing behind these responses is by definition very often outside of our conscious awareness. For this reason, when we start to feel anxious because we're not actually doing it consciously, it can very much feel like we have no control over it. However, when uninformed people tell us we're doing this to ourselves, they are, without wishing to sound like one of those people, strictly speaking, correct. There is a part of our mind doing this response. It's not just happening to us. When we perceive our anxiety to be outside of our control and simply accept that story, we perpetuate and strengthen this version of reality, and entirely without meaning to, we end up taking further steps to disempower ourselves. Whilst getting control of our subconscious responses isn't something we're necessarily used to doing, it's something we can learn to do. And it can be much simpler than we might think. But the first step to doing this would be to reject the idea that we have no control over our anxiety, even when it feels like that's true. When we've suffered with high anxiety for as long as we can remember, it can be very easy to adopt the viewpoint that we've always been this way and we were actually born with high anxiety. This, in fact, isn't the case. When clients tell me they've always been like this, what that really means is that they've felt highly anxious since before their earliest memories. This doesn't mean born like it. In most instances, it means born into an environment that for whatever reason didn't feel safe. And spoiler warning, it's probably to do with the parents. Our perception of this being inherited or congenital only serves to lock us into our anxiety responses, because the idea we were born with it just suggests we're going to feel this way forever. Neither of those ideas are true. One of the biggest fears we have when we're struggling with our anxiety is that we've gone mad or are at risk of going mad. When we experience the scarier responses like dissociation or intrusive thoughts, we might easily perceive these to be warning signs of insanity. In truth, nearly everything we experience when in a high anxiety fight or flight mode for extended periods of time is in fact a perfectly healthy and human response to putting ourselves under extreme emotional stress. None of these effects are permanent, and no amount of anxiety will break us mentally. Recovery is always an option, no matter how much it feels like there's no coming back. So to sum up, whilst it can be extremely frustrating when those that haven't been through what we're going through say things that come from a place of ignorance and inexperience, it's worth remembering that right now, the way we see things is very likely to be misrepresentative and tainted by our high anxiety state. And perhaps that's the most important way that the way anxiety feels is not the way it is. We feel like we're isolated, on our own, and that nobody understands. In truth, even on those occasions when we're certain we're the most anxious person in the room, we're not actually alone. Every human being feels anxiety at times, and everyone who cares enough to listen and offer words they hope will be helpful is part of the reason why we will recover and get the other side of this. So there's another video that I want you to watch that talks a little more about why anxiety might get things wrong, but isn't actually our enemy. And I'm going to link to that in the comments below. But what did you think of this one? Do you agree with my thoughts on this? Are there other ways that the way anxiety feels isn't actually the way it is? Let me know in the comments below, and if you have any questions, put them down there too, and I'll do my best to answer them. I really hope this video has been of value. Please hit that thumbs up button if you like what I do, and why not subscribe to the channel for weekly mind management tips and anxiety advice. Remember, I'm also now doing a weekly live Q&A every Friday at 6 PM London time, when you can ask me your anxiety related questions. So please join me for that. Also watch out for the members area going live any day now, where I'll be adding video tutorials of my full system for change with extra insights and exclusive live streams. But that's it for now. I'm Tim Box, Mind Coach. Always remember to be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.